I'm Lyn. I'm the drummer in the UK band Ingested.
Fantastic. And what made you guys return to Australia so soon after your 2023 tour?
Well, obviously, the first time we went was in 2023. We planned originally to go with Niall before COVID happened,
Yeah.
and obviously that didn't come to fruition because of COVID. Um, and we luckily got the tour with Archspire, and we enjoyed it so much. We always wanted to come over and do a headliner, and we thought this would be a good time.
Yeah, brilliant. And how did Aussie crowds respond to your visit then? And what stuck with you the most from that experience?
Oh, they're really good, like really, really good. But, I mean, the people are amazing. We're good friends with a lot of Australian bands anyway, like Croudace and Distant Two, Melancholia, etc., etc. So we get on well with Australians. They're not too dissimilar to British people, in terms of
Yeah.
like the humor, etc. So we hit it off with everyone straight away. Like really good response. Good people, good turnouts as well. The Archspire tour was, I think it was nearly, I think it might have been all sold out actually the shows.
Yeah.
So it was really good. I mean, a lot of people made it pretty clear that they'd waited quite a while for us to come over. So, we felt very welcome.
Yeah, yeah. I can't believe that that was like the first time you guys had been here.
I know.
Yeah, crazy.
I know.
And is there any Australian bands or artists that you've discovered or connected with whilst touring down here? You've just briefly mentioned that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, like Melancholy are good friends of ours. We took them out on our European tour last year. Like I said, Distant Tombs like Croptic. We toured with Werewolves as well
Hmm.
uh, on the last tour. Um, what we didn't know about Werewolves, we know Dave Haley anyway from Psychroptic, but we didn't know that the other guys were in Berserker.
Yeah,
Berserker for me and Sean, especially were a huge influence on us when we were growing up.
yeah.
Uh, so yeah, that was pretty cool.
Crazy. And you guys are now performing as a five piece. How has that shift changed the dynamic both in writing and on stage?
Oh, it's way better. I mean, it's always what we wanted to achieve. We started off as a five piece, and obviously we lost a few members along the way, and we kind of stuck it out as a three, and had live members for a couple of years really.
Yeah.
But we always wanted to bring it back as a five piece, but it was just finding the right people, having that right chemistry, um, and getting the timing right of the launch really, of the relaunching the band really. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like writing, it's way more collaborative. We've got a second guitarist now, in Andrew, who's starting to write quite a lot. So that's good for Sean. So he's got someone to kind of like challenge his ideas a little bit. And same with Tom being in the band as well, playing bass. We've not had a bassist for quite a while, so it was almost like an afterthought bass. Where now we've got someone who can interject a bit of his persona on the band as well. So that gives us another thing to think about, really.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think the sound has changed because of that extra person in there as well?
Sorry, you broke up there.
Oh, sorry. Do you think your sound has changed as well because of that extra person or?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think so. I think it's a there's definitely, even in the new song, there's a whole section where it's just based on its own. We've not really done stuff like that before, so
Yeah.
I think it will change. There'll be a natural change in terms of like how it evolves, but we're definitely kind of geared now to kind of take it a little bit back to our roots. So we're kind of with this tour coming up as well. We're going to bring a lot of old songs back into the set. We didn't have that much chance to play too much old stuff with the Archspire tour.
Yes.
Simply because you only have like 30 minutes or 35 minutes, whatever it was at that time. So you kind of it's
Compound.
it's hard it gets harder when your catalog grows, and the history of the band kind of gets bigger and bigger. It's to please everyone, because you want to. Some people want to hear all new stuff. Some people want to hear old stuff. There's stuff in the middle that you like playing as well. So it's trying to find that balance. But where we headline, you can play an hour. You can, as
Yeah.
much as you can, kind of spread it across the entire catalog. So we'll be focusing on some older stuff as well, which I hope will please some people.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's wicked. And I was just going to mention as well, is there a particular track in the set list that you're especially excited to play here in Australia?
The new one, Ultimate Flesh.
Yeah.
We first showcased that on the last US tour,
Yeah.
um, and it went down so well, and we really enjoy playing it every night. So I can't wait to get get playing that again.
Can't wait to hear it live. That'll be so amazing. And can you tell us about any tour rituals or routines that you've developed to stay sharp and grounded while on the road?
Well, I mean, the only person who really drinks anymore on tour is Sean, and even he doesn't really drink that much anymore. So, I mean,
Yeah,
that's kind of a big change from the old days, really, where we kind of grew up watching the Pantera home videos and thought, that's what you need to do.
that's
Go on
what,
tour, you
yeah,
just hammered every day, like, and then eventually your age kind of catches up with you,
yeah,
and you start to realize that your body can't really handle
yeah,
handle that so much anymore. I mean, we all try and stay as fit as possible between touring and during the runs as well. We go to the gym, I wouldn't say every day, but as much as we can, with time permits. Me personally, I like to do a bit of running, but in the mornings, even like drumming, like now. I mean, like I never used to warm up for a long time. You should just walk out on stage and and just play. But as you get older, you kind of feel like your muscles start to feel a bit like, I don't know, beef jerky. as
yeah,
you, as you get you put under a lot more pressure. So even now, I do like 15, 20 minutes of yoga before I go on stage, just to like feel a little bit more loose. But
yeah.
that's just that's just age, I think.
I know from I'm a drummer, I'm not a very good one, but from watching some of my favorite drummers and you guys as well, being in the genre that you're in, you play hard and fast. Is it like a workout when you drum?
Yeah, it definitely feels like that as you get older. It's more
Yeah,
demanding.
yeah,
I think like when you go out and you play a show, it's fine. I think when you put 30 shows nearly back to back, you start to fatigue a little bit now, like towards the end of the tour. So it's all about preparation. It's like how much preparation you put in leading up to the tour, during the tour, and even after the tour is when you kind of recovery process. So
yeah,
it definitely becomes a more of a challenge. It is like a sport at the end of
yeah,
the day because it's not normal, to play these tempos that we play at. It's fucking stupid, really.
yeah,
It really is daft, and there's some people who are just outrageously good at it and they have
yeah,
natural talent, and there's some people who, like myself, who I feel like I need to work pretty hard to get to that level.
yeah,
But as long as you put the work in and you're mindful of, how you prepare, then you can
yeah.
execute it pretty well.
It's sensible that you take care of yourself afterwards as well. I think that's the
Fine.
main point. Yeah. And what's a common misconception people have about Ingested or the death metal genre in general, do you think?
Um, I think the obvious answer to that is that we're all massive like horror freaks and stuff like that. I mean, obviously there's a few people who are. I mean, Sean, our guitarist, is massively into horror films and that
Yeah.
kind of that kind of industry and that genre. But most people are pretty like into
No.
anything really. I mean, myself, I mean, I don't really have any interest in like that kind of stuff that aligns with the band. I just like the music. It's the music I
Yeah.
grew up listening to, and you kind of stick with it, and that's that. But I mean, personally, I mean, my interests are kind of really far removed from from metal kind of things. I mean, I like a lot of sport, like cycling and
Yeah.
football and stuff like that. But there's lots of other people who are into the same stuff, who are into like lots of sports and like different types of films and music and stuff. So
Yeah.
I think the common misconception is that everyone thinks that we're just like goths and grebos and moshers, but we're not really, not all of us. Especially, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot more accepted these days as well. When I remember being in school, and I remember someone asking me like, about my interest. So, I'm big into football, and they're like, "How can you be into football and metal? That doesn't work." And I was like, well, "But why though? I don't really understand that."
Oh,
But now it's become more accepted these days that people kind of just have different interests, and you
yeah.
don't have to wear black all the time, and whatever. But that's
Yeah.
just the nature of society in the industry, I think.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. I find some bands I haven't heard of when I go to interview them and I see a quick video of them and they look really intimidating and I'm like, oh my gosh, are they going to be like really scary? But they're like the nicest people you've ever talked to. And it's like, yeah.
Exactly.
Known for your intense live energy, how do you mentally and physically prepare to deliver that night after night? You've kind of talked about that already too.
Yeah, I mean, basically what I said really. It's just staying kind of mentally and physically fit. It's not all, it doesn't always happen that way. Some shows are tougher than others for many different reasons. It could be to do with the weather. If it's really cold that day and you need to warm up your muscles a little bit more.
Yeah.
The crowd energy makes a big difference. I mean, me personally, I mean, it's nice to play like big shows when you end up playing like, I mean, we did a tour with Lorna Shore a couple of years ago, and there's lots of arenas and stuff on that tour, which was, So it's great memories, but my favorite shows are the intimate ones where it's
The
like
intimate ones.
three, 400 people. There's no barrier. They're the most fun shows. It's just hot and sweaty and like
Yeah.
and then you don't really care about like the little mistakes that you might make during the set. You just enjoy it for what it is, you know.
Yeah. And you know that the people are there just purely enjoying what you guys are putting out.
Exactly. You feel less like you're in a goldfish bowl,
Yeah.
like in a shop window almost. People kind of
Yeah.
analyze everything you do. You can just lose yourself in the moment.
Yeah, mad. And is there a particular song in your discography that you feel best represents Ingested as a band?
It's a difficult one. There's so many these days.
Yeah.
Uh, that's too difficult.
That's all right.
I
Do you
think
have
I
a
think it depends
favorite?
on the era of the band because we
Yeah.
kind of, each album kind of tells its own story of that time of, you know, our age and and our influences were at that time, etc. So yeah, that's too hard to pin it on one song. We'll say the new one again.
Yeah. Good
This,
answer.
this, yeah, this is the new age of the band. So yeah, we'll say Ultra
Yeah.
Flesh.
Why not? And are there any new bands that you're impressed by at the moment, or maybe one that would be a surprise given the type of music you make?
Well, like I said before, Melancholia,
Yeah.
uh, great young band, up and coming band from Australia. Really like those guys a lot. In terms of like other styles, do you mean in metal or do you mean other genres as well?
Yeah, maybe if you do like anything from other genres.
Yeah, I'm big into Turnstile at the moment, and they're just releasing. They're starting their new album cycle.
Yeah.
They just released songs. I'm not massively into hardcore. I'm not really massively into genres in general. I just kind of like
Hmm.
certain bands. I can't say I'm into synthwave as a genre, but I like
Yeah.
Gunship. I like the Midnight.
Yeah.
So I kind of more pinpoint into like certain bands. If I like that album or like that specific song, then and I'm into it. That's
It
it
grabs
really.
you.
Yeah, the genre doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, same here. And what's the weirdest or most unexpected thing that's ever happened to you on tour?
My God, I'm trying to cycle through like 20 years of touring, man.
Sorry, I know these
The
questions are very broad.
weirdest and most unexpected. Oh, I tell you what, actually, I will tell you a story. It was the first tour after COVID.
Yep.
Because obviously everyone had been like locked up in their houses for the best part of a year, really. We couldn't leave the country, couldn't play shows. We did a live stream during that time as well, which is kind of our only way of promoting the Where Only Gods May Tread album.
Hmm.
So we were desperate to get back on tour. Uh, we went on tour with Fit for an Autopsy in the US. That was our first tour back. I think it was January 2022 or 21, I can't remember. 21, I think.
Yep.
Anyway, been gearing up for this tour for a long time. We flew to New York, picked up our vehicle. We had to drive about 8 hours to Columbus, Ohio for the first show, pick up our merch, etc. We get about 4 hours onto the road. We're in Pennsylvania, and the wheel explodes off the van.
Oh my God.
Like I don't mean like the tire, I mean the wheel,
Real,
literally
like,
like yeah. There's sparks flying everywhere. We were like fucking petrified. Anyway, our
oh,
driver did a really good job and pulled over. We ended up being stuck on the side of the road for like 6 hours, like in freezing in January in the middle of America. We nearly missed the first show. We literally turned up about 15 minutes before we got on stage. I had to set up my drums like outside, it was freezing. Got on stage,
wow.
oh God, we've been waiting to go on tour for like for about a year, and this is the fucking first show. So yeah, that was a good start. But anyway, the rest of the tour was good.
It's lucky that you made it. That's crazy.
It was mental. We were just like, what the fuck, honestly, only this could happen to us.
Of course. Yeah. You poor things. Oh gosh. And if you could collaborate with any artist outside the metal world, who would it be? And what do you imagine that crossover would sound like?
That's a good question. Hmm. For me at the moment, I would say someone like Gunship, just
Yeah.
because I think that would fall into kind of like the horror kind of theme as well. If you can take their kind of like music down a darker route, kind
Hmm.
of like I can't remember the name of the artist, but there's an artist that did a soundtrack for the film It Follows,
Uh-huh.
uh, and it's like really kind of like synth wavy, really like kind of 80s kind of sounding. And I always kind of like thought like maybe if you could introduce that into some death metal in some way, that you could have quite an
That'd be
interesting.
wicked. Do you think your drums would be like an electronic kit then, or
Yeah, I
no?
think you'd have to blend it somehow, wouldn't you? I think.
Yeah, yeah.
And that
Interesting.
could be
That sounds cool.
last beat parts might be a bit intense with like EDM kicks and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, wicked. That's a really good idea. Hopefully one day it comes to fruition, maybe. And what message do you have for Australian fans getting ready for this next round of shows?
Just that we couldn't be happier to be coming back. We've been looking forward to headline over there for a long time, and we're just really excited, and we can't wait to see everyone.
Brilliant. And last question, looking ahead, what is next for Ingested after this tour run? Any new material, projects, or goals on the horizon?
Yeah, so we're working on some new material. We'll be hitting the studio in summer, um, so keep your eyes out, and we should have some new stuff coming soonish.
Awesome. Can't wait. And just lastly, you guys can catch Ingested from July 24th to July 26th, covering Melbourne at Max Watts, the Crowbar in Sydney, and Brisbane Cold Day Festival. Make sure you get your tickets because they did sell out last time. Lyn, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such a pleasure.
Yeah, much appreciated.